And welcome back to the final day of Week 3, North American edition now, and they've got one more day of play before we go into Week 4, where you're down to the last couple of games.
This match, the first one of the day, we're going to have Envy against Enemy. Both teams struggling, I would say, at the moment, tied with 3 points.
I agree with that. I mean, obviously, Enemy only took that 2-0 over Eager at the start of the year. Since then, totally, they've not had a great run, have they?
Not at all. Without PandaCat being on vacation, just now coming back against Soar last week, struggled very heavily when he was playing that Freya against the Terra.
And that didn't work out for them at all. But I don't think it's all really down to just PandaCat has been the issues for Enemy so far this split. Envy, on the other hand, though, only really managing to find splits against the likes of Eager, Denial, and Randozos to make up those 3 points for themselves.
And more importantly, the Rendozo split to start off their split definitely hurt them, I would say, moving forward. They weren't able to really find any 2-0 victories. The most impressive thing that they did was definitely split earlier on against Denial.
Yeah, and Eager as well. I think this is a sign of life from Envy this season as well. A bit of a different composition than what we've seen of the Envy squad from times of life before.
Yeah, and there's going to be a test for both of these teams to see how they really transition into their last week. They really need to get the ball rolling if they want to get prepared for LAN.
Yeah, if they want to get themselves in a decent spot in terms of the standings to make sure they get a decent spot at the LANs that will be coming up in the future here. So Enemy versus Envy on paper here. Interesting one, because we would have been like, Enemy guaranteed this at the start of the split. Now, though, different story.
It's funny because in the previous splits, we looked at Enemy specifically, and we always counted them out. And then heading into this split, I would say that a lot of people have been overestimating them, and they've just been falling a little short.
I don't think it was overestimations. I think everyone just recognized them as, this is a really good team now. And because of that, maybe Enemy... I think Enemy as a team just really missed the fact that they've been underdogs.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that's what they're doing. That's their mentality right now. Just going to lose some couple of games, and then they're going to be prepared for LAN, and then just going to surprise everybody again.
Well, they made it to Worlds last year, and regarding Worlds as well, we still have tickets on sale. hi-rezexpo.com. You can head over and get your tickets now. If you follow some of the hi-rez members on Twitter as well, such as Stu, for example, you may be able to find some discounts to get yourself here for a little bit cheaper as well.
I'll be there. You'll be there.
I mean,
you can too.
I might as well. Why not?
Why not?
Stuck in the country anyway.
I got nothing better to do.
Me neither. I'm just going to cast some games. Talking about casting games, though, let's go into this one. Enemy versus Envy to start things off here. And Enemy, well, this is an important set for them, I feel, especially after only beating Eager at the start of the year here. They really need to start finding wins now.
Absolutely. Both of these teams really need to start finding some wins. And the identities for these teams, Envy specifically, it's been a different switch for them, I would say, from previous splits where CycloneSpin would kind of be the star. But recently, with their past couple of games, it's been Oceans rotating and looking for the plays, whereas CycloneSpin, he hasn't been finding the same results as previous splits.
But some of that kind of comes down to Cyclone was the hard carry for that team. I mean, he used to play Assassins in that solo lane position now, but it's not really viable as much in the solo lane.
It's viable if you run a double Assassin composition and you cater to the solo lane, but without Weaken now, Skeeledon in the mix, he's trying to find his own identity as a jungler, so not wanting to go for the old meta, rather play it safe than sorry.
And then now with this new meta style from Oceans and the boys of Envy, now it's a different sort of roster combining for themselves. They've done pretty well so far, though, I will say, considering a lot of people underestimated them, expected them to not do very well this split.
Not at all, but either way, going into picks and bans, Giannis already targeted ban away from Khaos, and on the flip side, Aphrodite away from Kiki.
Really surprising, which means we're going to see some hot fireworks in this game. Nemesis at the moment still available, Fafnir, Terra, Susano, Ao Kwang. There's so many names that we've seen banned very often just lately are going to be available for this game.
And that's going to give a huge advantage to Envy being the first pick. More target bans, so eliminating the soul. Now, Enemy, they have to leave a lot of things open, so whenever Envy gets their first pick, they can have a second and third strong counter pick.
Very good indeed. Enemy probably going to ban Nemesis here, I want to say. I think Nemesis is the overall #1 must-ban pick.
At this patch, with still 70-second cooldown on her ultimate, it's very obnoxious to deal with her, especially whenever you don't have a wing blade quite finished, where she could really take advantage of you.
It will be the Nemesis, so Envy get the whole group of ridiculous picks that everyone thinks are OP at the moment to offer themselves. For me, probably Terra, though.
Terra would be an option if they wanted to go for it, but Fafnir is available, so you don't really have to commit yourselves to either, unless you're afraid of the enemy picking up Terra for the solo lane.
That's true. I mean, we did see some solo lane Terra come out yesterday in Europe. Not sure if North America are going to adapt the same sort of strategy here, though. And if you're having a long, hard think, and they will go with the Terra.
It's not a bad option, because now you're limiting the options for enemy in the dual lane. You don't want to run a magical hunter against a Terra in the dual lane. We saw what happened to PandaCat last time that happened.
Good point. So in that case, enemy probably not going to pick up Freya now.
Absolutely not. You don't want to have a Freya to get abused by Terra. The route into the stun, you have nowhere to go. Your only defensive option is to find the whoop.
Well, let's see if enemy have got an answer back to this Terra this time around then. Obviously, they dealt with it once before, didn't have great success, but by this time, they should have had enough time to practice against it now and be used to dealing with it.
Enemy, they have some flexibility. They're going to run the Jing way. Maybe this is going to be an Athena paired up with it, trying to synergize the taunt into the knockup, but they don't have to pick it right now with that Terra on Envy, so they're going to lock in the Raijin.
Well, it's priority picks for them. Jingwei, Raijin for enemy here, so Khaos going to go straight to the Raijin and PandaCat onto the Jingwei. Now, we mentioned PandaCat's return here, and some of the boys of enemy, they were talking, and tweeting about the fact that you don't understand the differences when you've not got the full roster there because the communication's different. I think the communication may be different now with PandaCat, but I don't think the Hunter position was the issue for enemy in the last few games.
Not at all. I don't think Fafnir was a problem at all for enemy. The dynamic was a little different because we know PandaCat plays more aggressively. Some of the communications could have differed, and it's a totally different dynamic for PainDeViande to pair himself up in the duel lane. However, when PandaCat came back last week against Soar, they still struggled. That was a picks and bans issue for them the last set, not a PandaCat or Fafnir issue.
Well, so far, picks and bans from good so far with Jingwei and Raijin locked in, but Ratatoskr and a Vulcan as well, so a couple of knockups being added to the EnVy roster here, and relatively decent composition from them.
Look at the success rate that Ratatoskr's had so far. 16 picks, 21 picks, 16 wins total.
Yeah.
That's a very high success rate for Ratatoskr.
I'll tell you, Tolly, I mentioned that at the start of the split too. I had a feeling Ratatoskr was just flying under the radar, no pun intended, but he really is getting more and more competitive play and actually finding a very good success rate. Thor banned, Rama banned, the Neith ban as well. I expect a Fafnir ban from enVy here though.
There has to be some Guardians off the table to eliminate PainDeViande, but it's going to be the junglers. It's not a bad idea. Both Thor and Susno has enough mobility to make it really annoying for the Vulcan, who doesn't have much escape opportunities.
I kind of agree with the jungle bans, but at the same time, leaving Fafnir open still, you could have at least taken that one off the table.
Well, without it's going to be a double Hunter. It's a Raijin middle. It's not going to be the Soul Jingwei combination or anything like that. So it's not a double Hunter where Fafnir would really synergize better with.
That's true. Well, Raven's going to get picked up for enemy here, and it's over for Ho-Yi for enVy and Oceans this game. And finally, Amaterasu will be the pickup for CycloneSpin in the solo lane.
I like the team fight already coming out of EnVyUs between the Amaterasu and the Terra. Those ultimates, the mobility on top of this, and as long as the Vulcan can be safe in his own backline, that's going to allow enVy to just dive onto enemy.
Well, enemy as well, they've gone for that very aggressive jungle with Erlang Shen again. A little bit difficult in terms of kill potential, I want to say there, but with the Raijin, it does work out okay.
I would say maybe enemy are going for a strategy where they're going to lean on the solo lane, maybe go into CycloneSpin's jungle very early on. Erlang Shen and Raven are one of the strongest level 1 combinations. And against a Ratatoskr Amaterasu, we could see an invade here.
I think we should see an invade.
It's
honestly.
very possible.
Yeah.
As long as the enemy runs one Wrath on either of those two gods, it's going to be a lot of trouble for EnVyUs. They might have to rotate over the mid laner just to assist them, and that's the way EnVyUs used to handle invades.
Well, we'll see exactly how this works out as well. At the same time. However, apologies for that. It's not going to be the Erlang Shen. It's going to be a Naja this time. I thought the Erlang Shen was an interesting pick of the jungle, but it's a little bit risky as well overall there. I think that was the biggest issue with that because for me, it's not as much setup potential as a Naja has in this game.
I would still say that's a very aggressive 2v2 composition at level 1. The ring bounces into more slows coming out of Marauder's Ravana. It's going to be an option for enemy if they explore it.
Yeah, and we'll actually see as they go into the jungle here early, enVy. I think this is wise of them to try and get some deep wards on this right-hand side to make sure that enemy aren't going to look to invade, make sure they can see them in position. And if there is going to be an invasion, well, they can do back harpies, they can change buff location starts if they want to make sure they're safe enough.
And they're all grouped up just to make sure that there is no shenanigans coming out of enemy. So they're going to spot out that enemy are going to start their own speed buff, nothing too crazy to worry about, leaving CycloneSpin with his own blue buff, which is what you really want to do as an Amaterasu. Make sure you survive the early laning phase.
Well, ability for both these two teams to climb to 6 points at the end of week 2 here. This is their final, week 3 here, I should say. And at the same time, it's their final time they can get points this week before they go into the final week, where they've only got 2 sets remaining every team in NA.
That's true. It's going to be do or die time for these teams to get the best possible group going into the LAN stages. You definitely don't want to be in that group of death because North America, there's some really highly skilled players, and the team synergies have just been increasing ever so greatly.
And the players do not know what side the standings will go in terms of the 2 groups. We've not released that information, so the teams as well can't juggle themselves into a better spot or even drop games potentially in the face favorable group option. They just want to play to win. We should give them more of a favorable group overall.
Looking at mid lane, Khaos against Kiki, Vulcan against the Raijin. Khaos should be able to outclear this pretty effectively. Once the rotations are coming out, though, from Skeeledon, there could be some aggression on those right side mids.
And it's more about which archers go down first. Well, he's actually going to go in the favor of enemy, but Skeeledon is at these right-hand harpies right now, looking to bring at least one down before Khaos turns up, and Khaos may be able to steal that one away. And Needham's going to get sashed. A fantastic purification. Oh, the turret! The turret may have cost him his life. No, he will get away because the ring toss went to the turret, and it could have potentially come back to Skeeledon one more time there.
And it's only a level 1 ring bounce, luckily for Skeeledon, but this gives all the lane pressure that Shattered and Khaos needs to really exploit the jungle side of Envy. Now they're going to look for an invade potentially on the back lefts as soon as they finish the left side mids.
Yeah, they will get the left-hand harpies here, enemy now, so they do get a bit of control in the mid lane. We're getting the fire elementals as well there, just on that rotation over from Shattered on the Ninja.
And that's what you really want to do as Naja, get the momentum rolling early on. Even that little bit of poke is setting them up for an experience advantage. Shattered should be able to hit level 5 before Skeeledon, and there's going to be a play onto Skeeledon now that his purification is not available.
You mentioned back harpies, and they're going to go for those on this left-hand side now as they did respawn. Shattered will be here with the support of Khaos, so a bit more experience for them to take away from the enemy, but also leave things available for themselves.
And now this prevents Envy from really going into their own jungle, and they have to be careful in dual lane as a result of that MIA call. So after this mid-wave, Shattered should be hitting level 5.
I'm very surprised by seeing that duo lane of the fact that enemy are the ones pushed up in it. A Terra and a Yi having trouble against a Jing and a Fafnir, really? Was not expecting to see that.
Well, the problem was that the MIA call from Skeeledon was just too much to really handle. PandaCat taking a lot of poke, though.
And then Notions goes in, recognizes it. He's classed as the hyper carry for this team now. No Ricochet available for one more second, and the blocks coming out from Pain. He's not going to be enough to stop some extra damage onto him. However, PandaCat does have potions left. He can base, however, as well, and use that passive to get back to lane.
Very important body block coming out of PainDeViande. Found this double stun between the Terra Shatter and then the Ricochet stun, but not finding the last in hand. You're still going to be able to clear the wave out first, though, and then look for a power spike.
Well, still no first blood. We saw all that pressure on Skeeledon very at the start of the game, and then on top of that, we just saw the pressure onto PandaCat in this lane already. Good work so far from both teams, still even.
CycloneSpin using his ultimate just to poke out Marauder and clear the wave at the same time. That gives Marauder a little bit of an opportunity to maybe call out for a gank in the solo lane as these buffs are about to respawn in 20 seconds.
You talk about gank in the solo lane. Who was it you wanted to gank?
CycloneSpin, more than likely. Like, you have to be able to shut down this Amaterasu, preventing CycloneSpin from getting into the mid to late game. And especially without his ultimate, Shattered can easily gank this.
And actually, Marauder still going in aggressive. Skeeledon on the rotation, has his ultimate. He's going to be looking for this straight away. Not looking around to see if there was any Naja coming around instead. Looking to try and force the ult on Marauder, but Marauder goes in, and Marauder pays with his life.
And that's what you have to do if you're Envy. Cater to CycloneSpin, allow him to transition safely from the early game and get to that late game phase. Dual lane just exchanging some ultimates, but going to be a clean jump away from Oceans.
You said exchanging ultimates there, Tolly, but actually Envy did not use a single one. They just forced this out. And now Dragon Form online for Pain. He's been poked out again. Gust is not going to connect with Oceans there. And now the Suns are down. They know Pain just used everything he had in his arsenal. No Ricochet available though for Oceans to follow up just yet, but he gets it anyway.
From a distance, Oceans with a hot snipe and the last in hand. Not going to miss it out this time around, but on the orange buff side, there's going to be an invade, regardless of finding the first blood onto Marauder, overextending himself. And now CycloneSpin, he does have ultimate to run away, though.
And he does pick up his blue buff as well there, so he's not going to get that one invaded away from him, so he's still going to be able to sustain nicely in this lane.
This could be an opportunity to gank Marauder, because now his ultimate's not available with this rotation from Skeeledon, which does get spotted out by the ward, though. They're going to look for the counter invade on the blue.
Yeah, that seems to be the whole idea here. Speed is currently down, as you can see, but 3v3 is going to be the situation here between the two. Marauder's ultimate is still not available just yet, and that turret is going to play as a fourth member right now, but look at that. Skeeledon just walked in, didn't respect their opposition, and just paid with his life for free.
No, you should have had CycloneSpin go in there first. You have to rely on your soul laner to absorb all those abilities, and then you have to play the cleanup assassin. This is why you go Ratatoskr. You have to wait for your moments, not force the issue.
PolarBearMike now able to rotate over here, get the fire elementals with CycloneSpin as well, as the Ryan Harpies went the way of enemy. When you see the gold, actually, enemy are in the lead in this game, which is the surprising thing.
Well, they were able to steal away the speed speed buff, they were able to find that last important kill, because finding early kills is nice, but the later the game goes, the more experience and gold you get from the kills as the level 7 and 9s progress.
That's very true. I mean, First Blood did go the way of Envy, though. That's why I'm so surprised by that gold lead overall there, as things have been traded out. That speed really made a big impact in this game then. Cyclone in lane, though, with Death's Toll, and we've mentioned, you know, Amaterasu has a couple of flex options in terms of starting builds, generally based off whether it's sustain or poke damage you're after.
Skeeledon looking for some more pressure onto PandaCat, trying to use that, and it's going to force out an early purification.
This feels like the SPL teams at the moment are like, PandaCat's been away for a while, welcome back to the SPL, PandaCat. We're going to focus you heavily, and we're going to have to make you experience what it's like to be stomped the whole time.
And that's what you really want to do when you have Oceans on this Hu-Yi. It's going to be a boxing match between these two hunters, and if you can have any sort of pressure from your jungler, you're putting Oceans in a pretty good spot to find the advantage, especially when he already has a kill under his belt.
Well, Hoagie started to fall a little bit in terms of meta picks overall. He was one of the first pick, first ban hunters for a long time, but with the changes, hold that fort right inside. Shattered looking for pressure on to Cyclone.
Still having his ultimate, the Terra ultimate being popped as well. CycloneSpin not getting his second and third hit off, just getting caught out of position, and now the rest of Envy going back into mid.
On top of that, they could even look for a speed buff invade one more time here now, and enemy as well, if they just pressure that lane a little bit more. However, Shattered going to return to base with 1-0-1 after a pretty good start on the Naja so far.
That was a really good invade, and the speed buff for enemy is going to be available, so they can grab this speed buff and then look for their own speed buff invade on the side of EnVyUs, which is more than likely the next game plan.
Rotation back to the left-hand side from Oceans there. We talked about his rotations around the map, and I say that again. Skeeledon is here looking for PandaCat, whose airstrike goes off, but his landing could cause him issues. Ocean's going to look for the cleanup. The Suns not going to do it.
The agility after the wing guts, just great play overall from PandaCat, barely escaping that. Now 2 ultimates down. PainDeViande, he's going to be able to cover the way for a little bit, stop the back out of Skeeledon just to be annoying, and allow PandaCat to rotate back in.
But PandaCat being focused out again this game. He's not actually died, Jay, is the biggest talking point. He's done a very good job of surviving, although PainDeViande did sacrifice his life to help out his carry.
Shatter looking for the potential steal on the ring bounces. The Vulcan in hand does confirm it, and now the rotation of Marauder, though, he's just going to bully out PolarBearMike, and this is going to allow the rest of enemy to maybe look for this blue buff.
We're not mentioning the Terra's Blessing too much this game so far, but PolarBearMike has used it in the last couple of engagements. It does provide extra mobility for his team as well, which is really coming in handy to allow things like Ratatoskr, for example, to really get around the map a little bit quicker. Almost
found the kill also on PandaCat with that ultimate from PolarBearMike, and now as a result going to have some mid pressure on from enemies. Should be able to get those right side mid harpies first. This is the funny thing now, because at the moment what you're seeing is that PandaCat's going to fall a little bit further behind here. He's getting rotations now out of PainDeViande to help support him. He's had to require it. Mid lane though, Sash connects with Vulcan, and Vulcan under a lot of pressure there. KikiSoCheeky, not cheeky anymore after that one. Marauder gets credit for the kill. It's really difficult to try to rotate underneath the mid harpies without the vision, especially against the Naja Raijin, who are just so much burst damage without the Sanctuary. Even with Purification, Naja Ultimate wasn't required for that easy kill. It's a very good pickup for the boys of enemy there, because it's allowing PandaCat to get a little bit more farm as he was able to rotate around for the Harpy. Cyclone looking into the enemy jungle here, going aggressive with the ultimate as well, looking for the stun and Shattered, but the second one did not connect, meaning the stun does not go through. This pressure is allowing the blue buff to stay standing for now, but he needs more support if they want to get it. That was a really important stun for the immunity frames to prevent one of those hits for the second and third one to connect with more stun. Skeeledon going to force this ultimate out just to avoid pain and chaos. I think that was a good decision there, because if he did just continue to run away from the dragon form there, he could have still chased him down with that dragon with the extra leap ability and then the stun to follow. It resets your cooldowns once you use the dragon form, so going to be able to jump and stun would have been PainDeViande. So great disengage from Skeeledon. Now without that ultimate though, this could give enemy an opportunity to still be aggressive. Naja and Raijin, that's a 2v2 combination that you don't want to be next to. Pace is so fast, though, totally, for this game. We've seen a lot of action. I mean, 5 kills in 9 minutes is an okay time, but there's a lot of people that have survived with very little health as well. It's been non-stop pretty much in this set. And that's what you're expecting to see out of these side lanes between enemy and EnVyUs. They both really like to box for the most part, with the exception of CycloneSpin, where he likes to farm. But with Marauder playing so aggressive, it makes it very easy for Skeeledon to find the rotations and exploit the aggressiveness. And Marauder now in that solo lane has a 200 gold lead. Got to level 12 a little bit quicker than Cyclone 2, so he's got Meditation online. The second relic of the game is involved. Dual lane Oceans clearing it out first before PandaCat, sharing the experience though with PolarBearMike. So as long as PandaCat can stay in the lane by himself, he'll eventually start out-leveling Oceans.
They're trying to catch Pain on the rotation here. The stun connects from the walls, and Meatball to knock him up again. The backfire as well. Ricochet doesn't connect. The downtown ultimate from Vulcan would have guaranteed that one, but Oceans, all he needed was the in-hands.
That was a lot committed though to PainDeViande. So they're going to start the gold here. CycloneSpin is going to try to zone away Khaos, forced into the ultimate.
Khaos, and Khaos trying to do what he can, but he's already bursted down. Cyclone good for the kill. Ocean still has control of the Gold Fury. Envy get it, and now they're looking for even more kills.
Marauder forced ultimate away, but he's going to get chased down by Oceans. Ratatoskr landing down, knocking up, finding their third kill, and they're not even done yet.
And Oceans did not get hit by that ultimate. In the end of the day, it means Shattered will be the one that pays with his life. PolarBearMike survived and actually got the kill there. Sorry, Skeeledon survived. What a great play from Envy.
We talked about how CycloneSpin wasn't rotating enough in the previous games, but that rotation is what allowed EnVyUs to really secure themselves that gold here because of all the pressure that he put onto Khaos. That Raijin ultimate was so ineffective.
Well, PainDeViande on his back, forced to use Draconic Roar there to defend the tower and make sure they don't pick it up here. But Envy just had a very good whirlwind of damage there. And Oceans, for me, is stepping up again. We mentioned him in the pre-game talk here, that he's become the carry of Envy. He's been protected by his team. He's been given the kills, and he's really shown his stuff.
We've seen him in the last split when he was with Allegiance. Definitely the MVP, I would say, of that team. And this is why he's trying to switch it up and joining the likes of EnVyUs. Some experienced players like CycloneSpin and Kiki, having that kind of leadership behind you is what's going to allow Oceans to really shine.
And the start of the split as well, a lot of people were saying, look at Oceans joining Envy, thinking the grass was greener. He should have stuck with Allegiance, you know? And now, well, this Envy squad seems to be building around him now. They're making him this carry. They're also assisting him, even giving him the red buff as an example.
At this point in time, you want to try to leave the Huyi alone. He has good enough sustain with the Devil Gloves, and against the Jing Wei, you have some really good flexibility going for the 1v1s because it's kind of easy, I would say, to juke out the Gus. You can jump over it.
And at the same time, you see PandaCat there. Level 12, a level behind Oceans at the moment. Has Devour's Gauntlet online. Similar stacks as well. PandaCat did a good job of dealing with things, but Oceans, with that little advantage early on, finding that kill early on in that lane, has just pressured them, and Skeeledon just keeps babysitting him as well.
They're going to try to find another Purification Force, but a great agility away. And overall, despite EnVyUs getting the Gold Fury, getting those 3 kills, they're not that much in the lead. They're only 1,000 up.
That's true. I mean, Enemy is still in this one as well as time goes on here, but it's going to come down to the team fighting as this one continues, unless Envy just keep finding picks and just continue to put the pressure on.
That's what's going to be very important. The later the game goes, those 3 picks are going to be way more crucial. The golden experience going to skyrocket, and with that, Terra's just going to try to set up the Kiki's meatballs.
Skeeledon back in mid lane, going to soak up that experience. Look for a little bit of poke on PainDeViande there as well, just on the exit of that one. And we mentioned Skeeledon and the pressure that they're putting onto PandaCat over and over here. It's not something we see out of junglers too often, is it? Camping dual lane, that was an old strategy of old. I mean, nowadays it was all mid solo focus, leave the hunters to it. This time round though, Skeeledon just seems to be like, listen, we're going to push for the hyper carry in Hou Yi.
It's all about trying to make the plays around the Gold Fury. If you can find those picks, you can definitely find the Gold Fury, and that's exactly what EnVyUs did earlier on. They're going to continue to try to put pressure onto PainDeViande, forcing him just to retreat.
Yeah, I like the idea of just like using that leap away. Once the root goes off, can still leap out of it as well, so comes in handy. No Harpies available right inside Marauder. Very deep in the enemy jungle here, looking to proxy farm as well and to see if he can find the next wave. Obviously, there's no camps for him to take at the moment.
It's a risky proxy because there's no Gold Fury to be taken. This allows a rotation from EnVyUs if they so chose to commit onto this kill from Marauder. He would be forced to use his ultimate or his teleport away.
I don't mind that idea too much though, totally overall, just because of the fact he released some pressure on PandaCat. If he can get some attention from the Skeeledon away from him, it allows that Jing Wei to continue to farm safely.
And this time Shattered has been making the rotation in the solo lane. I'm really surprised that Shattered wasn't the first jungler to make his appearance into that solo lane. We saw how aggressive Marauder was, even forced out CycloneSpin's ultimate to begin the laning phase, but it was actually Skeeledon taking advantage of Marauder's aggressiveness.
Well, these Ray and Harpies are being looked at by both teams, still not flashing just yet, but you can see the rotation from both teams to position themselves around it at the moment. Khaos on his return from base, working towards what more than likely will be a Soul Reaver, but it could be a Book of Thoth as well.
Both hunters right now looking at each other very menacingly, trying to find the Ricochet off the wall. Pretty close, but not going to connect.
I mean, that one there from Oceans was he was farming the creeps at the same time, but hang on, PandaCat there just using that Gus for a second. I thought he may be looking for a bit more aggression with the agility.
It would have been nice. You do have the Fatalis effect. Once you combine the agility with the Gus, you could chase down very easily, but you're also going to have to be careful because there could be some shots fired at you while you're mid-air.
Boy, PandaCat being off as well, maybe he's not used to the changes in Hou Yi as well. Obviously, can only really get one Ricochet off with the Mark of the Crow throw for the stun now. And obviously that mark of the actual ricochet does a little bit more damage on the initial hit.
EnVy securing their own blue buff. Marauders just going to spectate, going back to lane. He doesn't have too much mana to really want to spend. He has to worry about this damage.
And Cyclone going to get a bit of poke off there with a reflection overall. Mid lane continuing to farm his Kiki at the moment. 1, 0, and 4 on that Vulcan. Working towards a Wing Blade next, which I think is a good call.
EnVy is going to invade the blue buff, and this is a nice idea because Marauder, he has to teleport to try to hold it, but now it's too late. You don't want to commit your teleport at this point because Gold Fury is about to respawn, but he does. And now CycloneSpin, he's going to see this opportunity for him to out-rotate Marauder.
Especially with the Gold Fury being available right now. However, Oceans is heading back to base, and we won't see that Gold Fury attempted just yet. Oceans wants to go back and pick up a couple more things, and it's going to be, well, basically working towards his chins and getting a sentry ward to make sure he's got extra vision at the Gold Fury.
Vision control for both teams around the Gold Fury. Going to favor out enemy for the most part. We see the bottom left and top left of those Harpies completely controlled with those sentries, and now they're going to start making their rotation. PandaCat, he's in position for the gold, whereas Oceans, he's now rotating.
He is rotating indeed. Cyclone still on this right-hand side, but we may see a bit of a match here, but that hammer is off the mark from PainDeViande. Shad around the back though, looking for Kiki, going to get his purification, and he's going to back away. Skeeledon taken to the sky. PandaCat on the left is isolated and alone. CycloneSpin is around the back with a good airstrike, puts him over the Gold Fury. He's going to hover in the air. The rest of EnVy committing on enemy on the left-hand side now, as now PandaCat unable to get in this fight still.
Khaos' ultimate are not on the mark, and now he's going to be a sitting duck, but he's barely able to dash away.
Confirms the ultimate, but the Sanctuary is going to keep Khaos alive for now. Cyclone continuing on the back. Now, however, is a chance to go aggressive from enemy all of a sudden. Oceans is low. Marauder's looking for the kill. Meditate comes out, keeping Oceans standing for now. And the boys of enemy are forced back. Everyone still stands.
A nice stun that sets up the meatball, and that's going to be the first kill of this engagement. Marauder falling to CycloneSpin, but they're not done yet. A nice ricochet. Pain falling second.
And now, on top of that, PandaCat still being looked at for the team. They really want to pick him up. The route was good coming out there from PolarBearMike, which had provided the kill for CycloneSpin. All 5 members of EnVy stand after a fantastic team fight from that PvE Jing 10 game mode they were playing the weekend. Paid off for him there.
A very great meditation overall from CycloneSpin. He was doing a great job zoning so many members away from enemy, but then once Oceans got in trouble, he had the presence of mind just to come back in, pop the meditation, preventing Marauder from finding that crucial kill.
Beautiful play from EnVy. However, the gold lead is not that much considering they just won that big team fight. They're looking to exploit it a little bit more though. With this tier 1 tower, Turret will remove backdoor protections and tank it for them as well. So Khaos just has to sit there. No ultimate to escape. Used a lot of his relics already, so he's got to sit back and just watch his tower fall.
They had a nice 2-player advantage after the Gold Fury. Marauder didn't have teleport available. PandaCat just now reviving, so that's going to extend EnVyUs' lead ever so slightly to about 3,000. Not too much, I would say, at the 17.5 minute mark. It's going to be dependent though on EnVy to keep winning these team fights the way they are. Just keep having CycloneSpin dive the backline, make it really annoying for Khaos, because Khaos couldn't find the right angle of his ultimate that he wanted to.
It seems like enemy setting up for the speed buff here, especially with 3 members over here as well. This buff is slowly going down. PolarBearMike's trying to deal with the mini creeps for the time being, but they need a rotation to EnVy. You can see it from the mid lane. You're going to see Oceans even rotate over here, and there's the ult from PolarBearMike as well. Looking towards Shattered as the sun's rained down. Khaos going to get hit by that Vulcan ult, but no, he just got away from it in time. PolarBearMike going to force enemy back. The defense of the speed buff is successful, and they're thinking about maybe more.
Skeeledon dashing back into the safety. Marauder going to lead the charge for enemy, but they don't want to commit behind that turret. So overall, a great hold by EnVy, securing their own speed at the 18-minute mark.
Surprised by how much aggression we saw out of both teams around the speed buff at this stage of the game, but both looking for a real win. Enemy, though, didn't use too many ultimates, and now, well, they recognize the red buff is also up, so they're going to steal that one instead.
Yeah, without having Kiki's ultimate, Skeeledon's ultimate, there's like just no ultimates on the side of EnVyUs.
Yep.
They're going to completely exploit that red buff, and now EnVy, that's going to be struggling for them, because without that red buff at this stage, this is where Kiki's damage and Ocean's damage just really shines.
Looking for aggression onto Marauder, a little bit of poke coming out there from Skeeledon. Obviously, the follow-up from Cyclone wasn't available there. Skeeledon in this game, though, low player damage, but I'm okay with that. He's doing what he needs to. He's been a nuisance in the jungle.
He's been rotating around PandaCat more than anything else. He found the first blood onto Marauder, helping CycloneSpin get away from the early game, and now has a 2-level lead as a result. So overall, I would say great performance by Skeeledon.
Yes, worked out well from this game as we approach 20 minutes into this one now, and EnVy in a very decent position so far. Enemy, though, they don't look great in the team fights totally. That's the biggest thing so far, the team fights.
The controls, the space control from PolarBearMike with the Terra, the stun into the constant roots, it makes it very annoying. On top of that, they have the sustain options with the HP 5 from the Obelisk and the Terra ultimate.
Sash off the mark there from Shattered as he was looking for a potential pick. target. PainDeViande seems to be the focus on the front line from Envy as well, trying to poke him out, force him to leap away or use the dragon form early before the engagement even happens.
Just like that, the Terra finds the stun from a distance, and we have a rotation.
Gonna get Khaos out, but Skeeledon's going straight to the back, looking for Khaos as well. He sounds the drums, but he's in the suns, and Skeeledon gets credit for the kill. Dragon form out from PainDeViande, gonna reset his cooldowns for a second, turn his attention to Kiki, who sanctuaries a lot of damage from PandaCat there, but being pushed into enemy territory is not a good idea, and Shattered finds the ult he needed to, but Shattered's gonna fall in response when he gets back from the sky.
That's gonna be a 1 for 2 so far. Fafnir having to jump over the wall, gonna get chased down by Oceans. The mobility from CycloneSpin should be enough to find that third kill, and they're gonna split up their forces to try to get mid as well.
They're looking for pressure onto PandaCat and Marauder at the same time. Marauder taking a lot of damage from Oceans there. Cyclone did clean up Pain, went very deep for that one, and the ridiculous amounts of CC coming out from Envy.
He's not
really
done though.
Off.
He's flanking in the tier 2 tower. He knows the overhead kick is not available. With the sustain, he'll continue to die, but a nice ultimate through the wall.
Poor old PandaCat, he's left alone at a tier 2 tower. He will fall down as well. That was 4 members of Enemy that died in that engagement, and then they will also lose a tier 2 tower. Envy are really controlling this game.
Khaos has just not been able to really have a great team fight. These last 2 to 3 engagements, he's been the primary focus, and this is the problem for Enemy, because Shattered, he found an ultimate, but it was at the later stage of the team fight. Normally you want to open up with the ultimate to allow Khaos to really get off his damage. So as long as EnVyUs can keep playing aggressive the way they are, they should be able to get the Fire Giant and eventually close the game out.
This is so surprising. Week 3, right? At the start of the season, you would never have gone Envy will 2-0 Enemy. At the start of this split, you would never have said that, especially with the squads when you look at them on paper, with all the changes that Envy have made over the seasons as well. The fact that they've generally underperformed, that even, you know, for all intents and purposes, Kiki and Cyclone haven't been performing too well either. All of a sudden, they're taking it to Enemy and putting them way, way on the back foot.
Maybe Terra is the problem right now. The last set against Sword, Terra just completely decimated PandaCat. This time around, PolarBearMike's presence in these teamfights are setting up Kiki for a lot of easy-to-confirm meatballs, and that's something you really would like to have on a late-game Vulcan.
It does seem that the Enemy don't respect the Terra overall, though. I mean, I could understand the Nemesis ban that has to happen, but at the same time, I can't remember what the other first ban was here, hoping that something else would happen. Left-hand side, pressure onto Pain again. They're going to find the wall onto him, but there's no further follow-up so far from Envy.
All that brought to you because PolarBearMike was able to just sit on top of his own ward protecting it. The Sentry ward was a bait because you wanted to have Fafnir just overextend a little bit, poking him down to half health, and that is a power play in its own just to bait out the Gold Fury.
Well, Ocean's now level 19. Cyclone at level 20 here. Those two in the solo and dual lane respectively doing a very good job of picking up all the kills for their team here. And even PolarBearMike undying in this game, been involved in 11 of the 13 kills.
And this late game with Amaterasu and hi-rez, especially with Vulcan coming up, hold that thought though,
Yeah,
Skeeledon's going in the sky. He's looking for Shattered.
No, he was looking for Khaos, I think, but he wasn't able to get in range was the biggest thing there. I think he tried to commit a little bit too quickly. In the end, the ultimate is on cooldown. Enemy recognized it, but the Gold Fury is the next objective Envy are looking towards.
But look at this in the mid lane. CycloneSpin is zoning so many members away from Enemy. This gives a nice little advantage around the gold.
There's a lot of attention to him, and PandaCat should be calling that the Gold Fury is under threat here with PainDeViande in range as well. Going to use the ultimate. Marauder's coming in. Gold Fury gets reset, but dot damage by Pain. He will reset one more time as the collapse starts to happen from Envy.
Skeeledon looking for a potential flank of PainDeViande. Without his jump, the Vulcan ultimate going to land onto Shattered. Nice little body blocks by CycloneSpin.
This body box really coming up for CycloneSpin. He secures the kill onto Shattered first of all. Khaos gets his drums of war off, not really doing too much in this as PandaCat is on the backside trying to find some damage but gets it turned on by the team of Envy.
They're still aggressing though. PandaCat, he can't get away from the stun from PolarBearMike. They're committing under the tier 2 tower. Skeeledon just diving in.
One by one, the members of Enemy are falling here as Envy are just rowing through them on the backside. Pain falls down and Khaos surrounded by the whole squad will be a deicide in favor of Envy. This is getting out of hand and that is going to be a Phoenix.
The sustain is too strong out of Envy. CycloneSpin, he found the meditation yet again after diving. Oceans was so low, the meditation topped him off. PolarBearMike's ultimate was huge to allow them to just keep on fighting.
Perfect little play from Envy there one more time. The fact Cyclone goes to the backside the whole time this games as well. We used to see him look for the assassin role of trying to come in late to a team fight. Now he's leading his team in by cutting members off. He took Khaos out of that fight completely the whole time by just running him down in the backline, keeping him busy. And it actually allowed vision for Kiki to land that Vulcan ultimate that hit Shattered.
And that was a very crucial ultimate. Without having your assassin jungler in the team fight, Enemy were essentially fighting 4v5 for the remainder of that team fight. And they were all grouped up in that that little corridor, trying to retreat under the tier 2 tower, which made it so much easier for PolarBearMike to keep on finding the roots and keep on finding the stuns.
Well, it's 18-4 now. 3 Gold Furies in favor of Envy as well. The gold lead is over 10,000 right now as we look at this one. Experience 14,000 as well. These jumps are just getting bigger and bigger as this game's gone on.
And like we mentioned before, it's Amaterasu, hi-rez, Vulcan, late game form. Ratatoskr should be able to do a lot of damage. CycloneSpin looking for more damage onto Shatter, just forcing the ultimates.
Yeah, gets the ultimate off, which is huge, and now they're all going to have to fall back. Khaos trying to zone around the corner. Him and PandaCat on the left on his own, though. And Khaos is going to go out, and it looks like Envy recognize this. They want the carries.
They're going to be able to force the ultimate out of Khaos, immediately disengaging. CycloneSpin could continue to die, but instead, forcing out all those ultimates gives Envy such a huge power play. They're going to reset. They still have Vulcan, hi-rez, and Terra ultimate.
Well, these narrow corridors is perfect for Terra to find those walls and the monoliths if she wants to root them out. Cyclone keeping them busy with PolarBearMike on zone duty as well, but Enemy going to get 2 members through the front line for now. PainDeViande's the first one here, looking for a steal, and the steal does not happen. Envy get the Fire Giant, and now they look to turn to Marauder, who's used his ult.
He has nowhere to go after that, immediately falling to Kiki, and look at this, PainDeViande, he's trying to run away. CycloneSpin diving tier 2 just to kill Khaos, and now he's back on to PainDeViande.
And PainDeViande's going to fall to Cyclone again, a double kill for the solo laner. Skeeledon keeping Shattered at bay, no ultimate still available for him, and the body box coming into play from Skeeledon too. Beautiful played from the young lad. Going to allow Oceans to pick up the kill, and Enemy say, no, that's enough. You destroyed us, we give up.
The speed buff on CycloneSpin allowed him to just be so much of a nuisance in that backline, diving Khaos under the tier 2 tower. You cannot run away from Amaterasu with her aura and speed buff.
That was insane. I did not expect to see that game go that way whatsoever. I expected a close game and maybe a split between these two. But if Envy do that again, Enemy need to answer back somehow. They just didn't have answers.
I think it's the Terra. We saw how much dual lane pressure that they had onto the dual lane of Enemy. Both PandaCat and PainDeViande were really struggling. PandaCat had to back so early. He almost got first blooded, but it was actually the solo lane that had the first blood.
And surprisingly enough as well, Enemy in the mid lane, they did find that early aggression onto Skeeledon that could have resulted in as well. A lot of missed first bloods in that game overall. And in the end, it went Envy's favor. As team fights came around, it felt like the whole team was on the same page.
Once the team fights happened, it was in Envy's favor for sure, hands down. Amaterasu and Terra, the space control and the sustain between Terra and the meditation on CycloneSpin. I'm really surprised that Shatter didn't elect to gank that solo lane. It was a Naja. There was no ultimate on CycloneSpin. That should have went Marauder's favor.
Crazy little matchup there, especially when you look at Enemy. I mean, they're very good at one of the big things for them is objective control and team fights as a whole. Neither of those things were seen in that game.
Not at all.